everyone. Welcome, Sharon. Welcome, anybody who's on from a distant city. We have people on here, Greg, from Australia sometimes. She was watching it from Russia, a girl from Alaska, China. Sometimes we get some pretty, and this is the beauty. If you have German investors, not only you can do it through here, being a member of Green, you can use this platform to go talk to these people, in business. Yeah. So South America, when you start an investment group in Green, you don't have to get a room. You don't have to have it in the bar, and we'll show you how to set up Jonathan's bar. But you can just do it yourself in your computer with people all around the country. And have a meeting with 5 or 6 or 10 or 15 people, people overseas or people here, and any one of them can teach. So if you need some, hey, listen, by the way, I was going to bring in my friend from Orlando. He's going to talk about the fractional ownership, which we had last week, which we found. If you want to watch something, watch last week. Every week is fantastic. But watch last week's show. I'll show you how to get on the archives and watch it. Greg DeSalvo, fractional ownership guy, about passive income, about flipping your house if you got like $150,000 profit on a couple, flip it into a fractional piece, a 1/12 piece of a $3 million commercial property that's fully paid off. And they'll manage it for you, and you walk out of there with a 7, 8, 9 cap, and it's clean. You don't have to do it. You just let it, set it and forget it and go back to your other stuff. So all these things we have with Green, I just was showing some people here. It's so nice. You can even just watch it. I should put Sharon on here, but Sharon, Larry asked me to show him. Somebody who's motivated to sell the property, make sure it out. I don't know if you can hear, but I can hear it perfectly fine. All your stuff is on the phone, and you can give your app to some friend of yours, and they can watch all your shows right from your phone. And you can put it through your Bluetooth, it's even better. So these are the things that we like to present with Green. Some of the new stuff that we're coming out with in the next month is just mind-blowing of all the things we're going to do with the website and the comp plan. But anyway, before I introduce our speaker of tonight, I want to go around the room, and I've been trying to get Greg here for 2 years. So, and he can introduce himself to the room, and the room can introduce himself to each other. So, go ahead, sir. Who are you, and what are you doing? What do you want? What's your why of being here, wasting, putting your time in over here?
Wasting my time? Yeah, why are you wasting time with us? I'm Larry Restrepo. I'm from Winchester, Tennessee. Been in real estate for a whole lot of years. I've been in it long enough that, and been successful enough that I really enjoy getting out and teaching other people how to do it. I probably get more joy out of seeing somebody succeed than I do making a $100,000 deal.
You got any buyers out in Belvedere?
Out in Belvedere?
We got 30 acres and a 2,000 square foot brick house.
Possibly.
It's a good deal.
When it gets to Greg, he's thinking now, so I'm going to wait.
I'm Wade McMillan. Joined Green last year. But I'm old school, new school. I was out, now back in. Just looking to build rapport, meeting people. I like the relationship part, of course, making money too. But that's the biggest thing, building relationships. Other than that, just got done running 26.2 miles in San Diego, my first marathon. So, and that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Cool. John?
I'm John Martin. I do real estate. Have been for a pretty good while. Still am.
Contractor? Developer? Builder? Realtor?
Mortgage.
Everything. He's looking to, that 170 years old, he still wants to do deals. There you go.
That's right. You don't stop. You don't stop.
You don't stop. When they stop, they start throwing dirt on you.
Marina, brain mentor, keep learning, enjoying, meeting new people.
And we're going to get you buying a property very shortly. We got to wait.
Already switched to banking. That's why you should now take money to buy.
All right. Well, as soon as you get your papers in order, I'm going to show you how to buy some property. So.
I'm Carissa. I'm here just to be around really awesome people and learn really good things.
And I'm Crystal, and we're here just to like way relationships are key. So it's a great relationship here and learning and getting by skills in Colorado. So.
How many properties did you have already?
It's been back and forth, probably, total properties, I don't know, maybe. But we buy and sell them, rent them, flip them.
Good. All right. So you're not a newbie. That's good.
I'm Jeff Travis. That was my wife, daughter. Just enjoy real estate because it gives you freedom to leave and do other things that whenever you feel like it.
And Jeff, you just bought 50 acres out in Center Hill Lake?
Mm-hmm. Now we want to do Airbnb cabins on it. We think that's real close to the lake, so it'll be good.
Now you missed last week. I just found out. You haven't been here in a month because you've been out in Colorado. The Dave that usually comes here, he's the one who's giving me all those deals. All those ones in Clarksville. He's a tiny home seller. For $10,000, you can buy the kits.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I think some of the houses, $10,000 will deliver them to you, but they're unfinished on the inside. They're almost cabins, but they're already pre-wired for the most part. So definitely get a hold of Dave. He'll be here next. Matter of fact, I might be with him in Jacksonville. I'll give you his number, and you can contact him about doing that.
Okay.
Maybe he can help you set up your pads or whatever kind of infrastructure you need for those.
Yeah, that'd be good.
All right.
I'm Greg. I'm from Fort Myers, Florida.
Oh, you're from there?
Yeah.
Born and raised?
Well, Connecticut. Fort Myers. I was there 20 years and I've been here about 10. Mark forced me to come now. I'm just messing with you, but I love real estate because you can be creative and do things a lot differently and kind of do your own thing. You could find what you like and find a niche, and I want to be learn how to be as passive as possible.
And by helping people, it also helps you, and you get to be passive. I mean, it almost fulfills all your goals.
Right, and I do help a lot of people. I'm a licensed agent, so I help people in all kinds of situations. And I have a large network of investors that I've learned almost pretty much everything I know from the people I know that help me, and I try to pass that on to whoever needs some knowledge or whatever.
You an agent here in Tennessee or Florida?
Here at Village.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. You're in Village.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a broker down in Florida. If you need, you must know some people down there too. So.
I mean, I do know some people, but nobody that really knows the investment world.
Oh,
I know a bunch of people know how to sell retail, but
now you got to go to Larry Simons.
Yeah,
and Mike
I know.
Cathell, my two speakers there. All right, Stephen, you have anything to say to the crowd?
Let's listen to Sharon.
Okay.
I can talk later.
All right, yeah, Steve usually does our cleanup for us anyway. So anyway, to introduce our special guest, she's in West Palm Beach, Florida, or maybe she'll correct me on that. But she comes up with a lot of nice off-market properties, does a great show on presenting those. And the days that she don't have any or sells them too fast for the Wednesday to come around, she's nice enough to do some education for us. So I'd like to present right now Sharon Restrepo from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Hey guys. I am really glad to be with you guys tonight. And I'm very impressed that you guys are all doing something in real estate. It seems like I'm used to, going to meetings where nobody in the audience is doing anything. And before I start, Andrea, is there a way that I can see everybody? Because I don't have a screen that I can see anybody.
Marcus, you want to field that one?
I would like to actually be able to look at you guys if I can.
I would switch to gallery view. You should have the gallery view option at the top right corner. That should give you the option to see Green Central. Do you see it?
No. Gallery view. Sorry, guys.
Top right.
The top right of the screen of the video boxes that I'm in?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Thanks. Okay, cool. All right. So before I begin, because I don't want to forget, I have a great off-market list for anybody who wants to get on my list. You can email me your email address, and you can see what we've got going on down in South Florida. And I would love to be on wherever you guys are. If you have some type of list that you put buyers on, I would love to be on your list. And my email address is SharonR@32westrealty.com. I'll put it up at the end, but it's SharonR@32westrealty.com. So I am a full-time broker down here in Palm Beach County, Florida. We are a full-service brokerage, and we cater to investors. So the only time we have a retail listing is because we fixed up and are selling a property for one of our clients, or we just flipped one, are fixing one and are putting it on the market ourselves. And so we provide inventory to investors regardless of where they live in the world. And then we have a menu of services depending on, if they're local, they might just want the property. If they're not, they might want us to do everything for them. And so we've been doing that here forever in Palm Beach County. And so if you're familiar with Florida, especially South Florida, we are condo heavy. There's condos everywhere. A lot of people move here when they retire. And so we have a lot of retirement condo communities as well. And so what I'm going to talk to you tonight is part one of buying condos, and next week we'll wrap up with part two. And so let's get busy. I don't take a lot of time. I'm used to talking fast, but I will field questions at the end. So condos can offer a great place to live. With all owners contributing to all of the amenities, the monthly cost to enjoy a certain lifestyle can be attained sooner than if you tried to buy all of that in one property. Condos do have their pros and cons, and we'll get into that. For those of you looking to buy a condo to live in, rent, or flip, there's a lot to consider. There's a lot more due diligence involved to make a good decision, and we're going to start going over that tonight. So when we are purchasing condos, our due diligence includes the following. We're looking at their rules and restrictions, their guidelines. We're looking at their budget, especially. I'll go into that. We're looking at assessments and pending assessments, percentage of units rented, the amenities that they offer, how many associations are actually there, how many are you paying. Buying at foreclosure auction, we want to give you a lot of the caveats to look for so you can make a right bid price and you're not wiping away the dues at the auction and more. Okay, so we'll get through some of this tonight and we'll wrap up the rest of it next week. So when we are starting out with the condos down here where I'm at, and you can take what is going to apply for wherever you are in the country. So for us, if we're buying condos east, for example, we already know if the building's older, we're going to have a lot of saltwater damage, believe it or not. So we're even pickier what we look at east. We're looking at the age of the building. We're looking at the last time the renovations were done. That will give you a good idea of assessments that may be coming up in the future or the near future. We're looking at the age also of the restrictions. So is it age restricted community? So it's very common down here that it's a 55 and older complex, in which case those rules may vary as well. So we'll buy a lot of stuff in 55 and older complexes. I actually love working it because the buyers are cash. I don't need to worry about appraisals and things like that. And I like that because, the process goes quicker with a cash buyer. So we'll have a community that will be a 55 and older community. They'll have guidelines or rules that 80% of the community has to be 55 and older, and 20% of the owners can be under 55. So how, somebody will tally that up for you and give you that statistic at their office to see if it's something that you wanted to live in or you wanted to rent to people that were under 55. Many times they'll say as long as one person's 55 or older in the unit, the other person's can be 18 or older. Other times everybody's got to be 55 and older. So they'll also restrict the ownership on title that they might say anyone can own it, but only folks older than 55 can live in it. Or they'll say everybody has to be 55 or older, even the owner on title. So, you're going to look into all of those things too. They'll have work hours and traffic rules. In other words, when you go to renovate the unit, you might think, well, I'm going to knock this thing out in 2 weeks. But then you find out they have these very short windows of vendor traffic and no one can go on the weekends. And there's a special elevator, or you can't even use the elevator. You're going to have to use the stairs or whatever it may be. So you want to look into that if you're going to be doing a flip there and your renovation that you think is going to take 10 days takes 20 or 30. The insurance requirement, you can always get a copy of their insurance. This can help you reduce the cost of your insurance depending on what is covered in their insurance policy. So it makes my insurance costs much less expensive in a condo when there's an underlying policy. So you're going to ask for those items. And then, of course, the application and approval process. If you are looking to sell it quickly or rent these quickly, then you're going to want to know how long is your approval process. I just waited 65 days for an approval. So meanwhile, I'm potentially sitting vacant for 65 days unless I didn't, I started early enough while my other tenant was still in the unit. Sometimes that always doesn't work out. And so your approval process is good to know that if they'll just, it's a small board and they just take the application, approve the person in a couple of days, or no, everybody has to have this formal meeting and we're going to meet when we feel like it. And, everybody's got to show up and, the drill if you do condos. So all of these things will affect your ownership, your timeline, and, what your plans are for that unit. All right. So with the rules and restrictions, a lot of times when I'm doing due diligence on a condo, the owners that call me, they don't have their docs. They don't live here anymore. They inherited the unit and they don't even have these condo docs you're supposed to get and actually sign, a disclosure that you received them because you have 3 days to cancel based on the docs and no one's got them. So the alternatives are you go down to the HOA office and you order them for like $100 and maybe it takes a week, or you can go online because all of the condo documents and all of the amendments throughout the years are recorded. So depending on, again, how old the complex is, you might be looking through a lot of public record, but this is one place you can go find the stuff and see throughout the years if you see the amendments that there are no rental restrictions, no pet restrictions, no vehicle restrictions, or whatever it is you're looking for. Okay, so you can find these online. If you're looking to own it as a rental yourself, or you want to have the extra ability to sell it either retail or to an investor, you're going to want to know what those rental restrictions are. So obviously, we're going to pay a little bit more as an investor if there are no rental restrictions. And our nicer looking communities have 1 year rental restrictions or 2 year, meaning you have to own it for a certain amount of time before they allow you to rent, in hopes of keeping the values up, since, tenants don't take care of anything, hypothetically, right? Okay, so there might be you can never rent the place, okay? You might have to, like I said, own for a period of time first. You might be able to only rent it 2 times per year, a certain amount of times per year, even 1 time per year. We recently bought one that they only allowed you to rent it for 6 months out of the year. You couldn't even do an annual lease, which I'd never heard that one before. That was strange. And so if you're looking to do a vacation rental type place, it's definitely going to be a bummer for you if you buy this place thinking you're going to do a vacation rental. It may be a great location with a lot of amenities and you're going to furnish it beautifully, but they take 3 weeks to approve your tenant, and they have a rental restriction, and all of these guidelines prevent you from doing what you had hoped to do with it. So a lot of times you'll have rental restrictions where they're allowed with approval, and really they're just looking for their $100 or $150, and you turn in the application and that's all you have to do. And then other times they want the whole approval process. And then lastly, in the nicer complexes, they will actually require a deposit from your tenant, as well as you requiring a rental deposit from your tenant. And that's because they want the tenants to have a vested interest in all of these amenities. So there's beautiful gyms and there's beautiful pool area. And, the nicer and the place is, and the more luxurious or resort style it is, the more these places are requiring your tenant to give them a security deposit as well, that they receive when they move out back from this condo management company. All right, so you're going to want to look at their budget. A lot of these things came to light after the big boom, because so many condos went under and they didn't have enough money to do anything with. All of the owners were assessed to cover all of the owners that were foreclosed on, and nobody was paying anything. There was not enough money coming in. So everybody else had to make up for it and would begin to lose their units as well. So we've had a lot of recovery going on in the condo market down here. So we want to look at their budget. And when you are buying a place, guys, you should have full access to all of their documents. Nothing should be hidden for you. This is due diligence that they should hand over to you, open book policy. Okay, so if they're not giving you these things and they're that unorganized, that's a hint that you can expect an assessment, you can expect an increase in the dues, because somebody's not managing the money well enough if they can't even keep the books right for you. So you want to make sure that their budget has reserves set aside for upcoming repairs or capital improvements. Otherwise, you can expect it to be assessed on you. And that's what you're trying to find out. You want to make sure that you don't buy something. I bought something right after I bought it. It was a REO, so they disclosed nothing, they know nothing. And when I sent in for the estoppel information and even talked to the homeowners association, the condo association themselves, I asked about assessments and pending assessments. No, everything's wonderful. As soon as I bought it, there was an assessment for $14,000 or $17,000, something like that, per unit. Or you paid it all at one time, or your dues went up a couple $100 a month, for 5 years or something. And so it was a very bad time to be buying that unit. I mean, fortunately, I thought, wow, I'm going to make a killing, but I made that killing minus that money because I decided I would pay it to get my unit to sell fast. So, those kind of things can happen. And knowing that, of course, now I would definitely have gotten that information in writing so that I would have had someone to hold accountable to. Who knows how that would have worked out? You know how that goes. So those assessments, like I said, would be offered to be paid in full or over time. And sometimes you'll have to look into these things as well. You might be buying a unit from an owner that has an increased monthly payment based on a prior assessment. And you can think, well, I'll just continue to pay that payment and I'll put that into my numbers because there's $10,000 left on this assessment. I'll just continue to pay that high assessment and that's how I'll do my budget. Okay, you need to find out that you are allowed to do that. you might find out at closing that upon the transfer or the sale of the unit, all of that remaining assessment balance comes due. Your owner already doesn't have money, which is why they're typically selling to people like us. And so that money would have to come from somewhere. So these are the things you're going to need to look into during your due diligence period so you can renegotiate when the timing is right. Okay, then obviously we talked about reserves. You want to make sure that they do have money in reserves. Now, if you think you're stealing the place and there's no reserves and the HOA dues are low, the condo dues are low, and you think, okay, buildings look great, I'm going to get in and out of this thing before anything can happen, then of course that's your call. This is the risk that we take. All right, and percentage of units rented. So if you are going to retail the property, and your goal is to sell this to an end user that's going to most likely get a loan, depending on, your condo here, then you want to find out how many units are rented in the complex. You might even want to call one of your mortgage brokers and say, hey, is this condo complex in your list of approved condo complexes? For us down here, the first-time home buyer market is what we play in, and a lot of those people, a large percentage of those people are getting FHA loans, and the FHA condo approved units it's a short list. And so that's one of the first calls I make when I'm looking at making an offer on one of these places. The other thing that can help you is when you're looking at the comps in the MLS, you can see on the closed sale, did they pay cash? Was it conventional? Was it FHA? So you can kind of see, are FHA loans being closed in that community? And you can get an idea, during your own little online due diligence. Okay, so depending on the percentage of units that are rented, if it exceeds a certain number, and a lot of lenders are different, then the lender will either not lend in that community or lower their loan to value or change other loan terms. And I've definitely sold units in places like this, and this is what they've done. So this can, of course, hinder your ability to sell it retail in the end. And, we're doing this to make money. So, you could go through part one and part two and think, I'm never going to deal with condos. But then, on the other hand, if you make something your niche and you really know what to look for and find an in, you can target some of these condo owners that might be suffering from one of these certain things, that we have to keep an eye out for, that are eager and ready to sell to you. And you've got a nice little target market niche there for those particular condos. All right, so that wraps up part one, and I will finish next week. Does anybody have any questions?
I always have questions. So you're dealing, can you hear me?
I can, it could be louder if
I'm actually curious. I remember, and I know you buy properties at foreclosures. I'm not mistaken, in Florida, we had condominium legislation that was enacted in Tennessee in 2008. And I think you guys had some pretty sweeping legislation also. And one of them of particular interest, as I buy foreclosures, was the relation back doctrine, where association liens after 2008 were actually related back to the original date of the covenants, the CCR recording. So in certain cases, they could actually take first priority over a recorded first mortgage. Now, I know in Tennessee, they do take first priority over recorded second mortgages, not first mortgages. And so I was curious if you have run into this. I've actually run into it here a couple of times at auctions where guys have bought second mortgages, and I tell them, guys, you need to not buy that. It's opening for $100 and there's a $60,000 association lien. But I'm just curious about if you run into that there in Florida.
Well, next week I'm going to go into that, buying at the foreclosure auction. When you're bidding on the mortgage that's foreclosing and you're stuck with those dues because they do not wipe here, or you are bidding on the HOA lien, whether there's a mortgage or not, because the mortgage will not wipe. The first mortgage will not wipe. And so I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I definitely am going to cover it next week. But we like to bid on homeowners association liens, condo liens when there are no mortgages. The problem for us down here, and I'm assuming it's the same, is we oftentimes have no idea how much is owed on the back dues. The associations, the only way we know what's owed is if they have actually filed a lien. But if they don't, you could call the association till you're blue in the face, and nobody's savvy enough to give you a number, recognizing that if they told you what was owed, you'd be more likely to bid on the unit and get them all their money.
In Tennessee, what they do is the new legislation, they're supposed to actually record an amendment to the covenants and restrictions. The new legislation allows the HOA to grab 6 months worth of dues, but a first mortgage wipes any condo liens here. Now, where you get into a tricky place if there is an unpaid assessment that is called for in the association docs, and then you get basically into a pissing match with the association, because if they say you owe it and you try to, in other words, you've got to close your property out, but they're supposed to actually record an amendment in the CCRs here, and that just basically allows them, you can count on when you buy a property here at a foreclosure auction that you're going to pay 6 months worth of dues. But the tricky part is if there happens to be an assessment.
Well, here you as a third party bidder, you pay everything that's owed. Only the bank, if the bank forecloses and actually gets ownership, they're the only ones who gets to pay the 6 months worth, or 1%, whichever is less. So as a third party bidder, that rule does not apply to me. My best hope is that I can go online, look up the condo docs, and find an amendment that says that if it gets sold at foreclosure, the dues wipe. So some condo associations actually have in their own docs that they get nothing if it goes to foreclosure, whether the bank takes ownership or a third party bidder wins. So we obviously try to zero in on those complexes if we can, because we don't have to worry about it. But yeah, no, here only the bank wins if the bank gets the property. We would have to pay everything that was due. And like I said, it's hard to calculate. We can only maybe determine that if the bank started a foreclosure, January last year, if we're lucky, we can assume that, okay, January of last year, they stopped paying their HOA dues. And so we can say, okay, this many months times dues, times late fees, maybe attorney's fees. And okay, let's add a couple more grand to that and see if we're even close to what we may have to pay. And, but
you're saying that your judicial foreclosures in Florida do not wipe your HOA liens.
No.
So when you're under contract with one of these and you're looking for all these liens and you're using a closing attorney, does a title search make all this? Do they find all the liens to the title search?
No, they have to.
Go ahead, Sharon.
Like to get clear title when you have to pay the liens.
Right. But when there's a condo involved, then they have to order what's called an estoppel. The condo association receives an estoppel request. They charge a few $100 for it, and they return this estoppel that says, here's everything that's owed. Here's the monthly dues. Here's everything that's owed to date, including attorney's fees, whatever it is, so that the seller gets charged for it in order to clear title. And in the majority of our condos, even homeowners associations down here, you cannot even transfer title without an approval from the association that is notarized and able to be recorded. So, the closing agent couldn't give you clear title without your HOA approval. So usually that's when you find out, hey, Bob and Sally haven't paid in 5 years and all these assessments are due. And then, so of course, Bob and Sally would have to pay that, but
if they don't have the money,
right. So if there's not enough proceeds, then yeah, you've got to decide if
it doesn't work.
And Sharon, is like she said, a lot of those condos down there are built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and their record keeping is just horrible. So yes, you might have the greatest title attorney in the world, and they can be the greatest communicator in the world, saying we want all the records, and they just don't.
Because they're physically on paper pretty much, yeah.
Well, you're not asked. The title company's not going to find it online. The estoppel has to come from the homeowners association or their management company or their attorney. So they're not going to close without an estoppel. The estoppel also confirms to you what the monthly payment is, the quarterly payment, whatever it is, when they're due, where they're due. It's kind of like that reassurance that what the owner told you is true.
And we had title attorney here a couple weeks ago saying that, we just can't find, there's things that they just can't find, And Sharon, some of those condos down there, I know the one we bought, you're not allowed to have it in a corporate name because they don't want those landlord rental properties.
Right. That's one of those title requirements. So
if you're in a corporation.
Mm-hmm.
Sharon's also buying the way we buy sometimes, which is at auction, and you can't get a title policy for something you buy at auction.
Right.
So we've been through this several times. Anytime we buy a condo at auction, there's always something that comes back and bites you a little bit. I can specifically relate to one time where there was an assessment that was recorded, and it's supposed to be an inferior lien, but it was paid in installments, and the association, the attorney's saying nothing's owed on it. The association's saying, the association is saying, well, the installment hasn't been paid. And the lien for the assessment was recorded. It's an inferior lien to the first mortgage, should have been wiped. But then you get to a closing table and you have a buyer and they say you owe $4,000 or $5,000, you owe it. I mean, there's just, you're not going to take it to court and lose your sale. And those kind of things happen unless you someone at the association, the management company, someone to get you the information. Because even just like she said, you request the estoppel certificate, and it could be 2 weeks to 30 days before you get that to close, depending on who you're dealing with.
Easily. I mean, our condo we bought down there, it was like 2 months. We had unfortunately, it was a probate and all the other things. And the kid who was selling it to us, he was complaining that he had to pay another 2 months worth of maintenance fee. But it was a probate, so it was his fault anyway. But it's just something like Sharon said: you either do the deal or don't do the deal, and you just you make the thing good enough for the best that you can do. Get the best deal you can.
We have a lot of mold issues, in our condos, and so. I actually spend money on inspection reports quite a bit because I want to be able to use it to negotiate if I need to, of course. But I don't want to be the one who owns that unit with molded unless I bought it like for $1 because it's really an issue. So we try to stick to top floor units and, just all of this because we had an issue before where we lost money. Every time you lose money, you change your strategies, because you don't want to do it again. But one of the things that, and you can look into this where you guys bid, if you're buying at auction, your due diligence is so much more important, of course, but it's so much harder to get. And so if the HOA, like what will have happen is there'll be these large mortgages because everybody bought them in the boom and they overpaid. And so now the bank is foreclosing and let me back up. The HOA foreclosed 5 years ago. Nobody bid because there's this huge mortgage that's not going to wipe. And so the HOA owns it. So they put a tenant in it and they're collecting rent for this last 5 years. So they legally have nothing owed to them because the rent is most likely covered everything. So now the bank is going to foreclose and you should have zero to pay the HOA. But when you buy at auction, they know you're stuck once you pay for it. You've got your certificate of title and now you're going in and you're saying, hey, what do I got to do? I'm at my unit. Where do I pay my dues to? You want my information, etc. And they're like, oh, well, all this money is due. And so, I've had it where most of the time it was fine. Zero balance, here, start paying. But then you'll get these people that want to play around and say, no, we want, $10,000. And they want their money when they've collected it all along, and they don't deserve it. And you're in like the same situation he was talking about. You got to take them to court or delay your sale, or, just make them some low offer and try and end up, giving them some money that would be less than what you would pay an attorney to take you to court. So even if you're completely in the right and all your stuff is legit and you buy at auction, you still run the risk of dealing with some guys who, are unsavory.
Give you another thing that's, you don't have this problem, but we do. It's called frozen pipes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I have mold. You have frozen pipes.
We get mold sometimes, but not like you guys get it. But a lower level unit, we actually bought one at foreclosure, and our pipe burst. And I get a knock on the door 3 weeks later, and it destroyed the unit below us of someone else who bought their unit at a foreclosure sale. And they went to the association, and I told them the association doesn't pay for your insurance on the inside of your unit.
Right.
And then they wanted to come back to us, and they had neglected to get insurance, and they were not a top level unit. And so basically, when our pipe burst and destroyed their unit, they were stuck. They lost. The guy that bought that place lost $40,000 because he didn't get interior insurance, and he had a unit with a unit above him. And that was during the winter. And we had purchased our. Basically, what happened was we turned our water on, went home, came back the next day, and our pipe had burst. In other words, there was a loose seal or something. Nothing we could do about it. There was nothing running on the meter when we left. But that's another thing. Like here, anyway, with condos, anytime you don't have a unit, or you have a unit with another unit on top of you, that's dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why you buy things the right way. You get your proper insurance, you do your due diligence, and even then, that's why this is investing, gambling.
Well, you can certainly gamble with, ensuring that you'll have a better hand than, not. And I think we have like the highest insurance rates all over, and condo insurance is so cheap. For $700 a year is typically what I pay for the condo insurance, just to take from like he said, from the walls in, so for $700 for the year. And if I sell it sooner, I get, a credit back. It seems crazy not to buy that.
All right. Any other questions?
So is it better to buy like a new condo unit that's like new construction?
I think it's better to buy anything that's new construction.
You pay. The trade-off is they're at the top of the market pricing.
Well, yeah.
Well, no, you're still got to buy a deal, but the construction is newer. The thing is, if you can buy newer constructions, anything from the 90s forward, I'm not in cast iron pipes. I'm not in, the wrong wiring. Just the construction is better. So I'm still looking for a deal. I don't want to pay top dollar, but
right.
My insurance is even cheaper because the unit, because I don't have cast iron pipes and all of these things. It's dramatically cheaper. Even I've got to buy wind policy and flood policy. My flood doesn't change much because, water's water, but the wind is still cheaper because the building's, supposedly stronger and better. So I don't care what it is or, what you're buying. I definitely think a newer construction is better.
Well, yeah, new construction is great, but we're in the investment business, and unless you get it at a screaming deal or a market that's going, we used to in Cape Coral put $1,000 down, and you didn't have to close until they got the CO, and you can sell the note at any time without even closing. We were buying like 50 of them at a time, put $50,000 down. Getting 50 houses built from the ground up, and the market was going up $10,000 a month. In 2 months, we just sold the paper and made $100,000 and just walked away.
So you signed your contract.
Never even,
And you got to be careful on new construction. A lot of the new contracts now are non-assignable clauses.
Well, they had the new Mark LePera law down there. It says you get anything.
Well, thank you for that.
Because we did a shitload of them. And then Robert Ogracio called, Mark, there's another one over there that does it for $500 down. I said, geez, when we do $50 down, we'll be, getting 10,000 houses. It's interesting. Well, thank you, Sharon. Again, food for thought. I hope you gave us the bad and the ugly today. Hopefully next week, we'll get some good news with some good reasons to buy condos, and we know there's plenty of them. But yes, that scared everybody here, and thank you for that. But it does give us much food for thought and masterminding session here. So thank you, Sharon, for...
Welcome, my pleasure, guys. I will see you next week. Oh,
her show is on at 10 o'clock on Wednesday here. It's free and open to everybody. Anybody can tune in. You go on our calendar, look on Wednesday at 10 o'clock, click on it. It has the link right for this system here. And watch her. I'll tell you, every week is how about it, Doc? Isn't it mind-blowing information?
It is. And you learn also tidbits. Today, we learned a tidbit that Sharon used to race motorcycles in her younger days, which I think is incredibly cool. She also did bungee jumping, which I cannot understand at all.
Now she did bungee jumping on the motorcycle. That's wonderful. Well,
She's
anyway,
many talents. There's no doubt about it. And the more you listen to her, the more you learn. And I would definitely invest with her. I have loved it. Marcus can tell you the same thing. We spend every week, we have to put our lower jaw back into place because we are learning something new every week with her.
I mean, she did things on auctions already and
wholesaling. We actually have Marcus is putting the finishing touches on a brand new standing course. If you look at our website for Green members, we have on-demand classes, and Sharon was gracious enough to film a course on wholesaling with us that is going to be up on the website very shortly. So we're very excited about that. Lots of good things coming.
And she has some tapes here that you can buy. Anyway, thanks again, Sharon. I know you're on next week. Who else is up on after her, Todd?
Well, of course, as you said, Sharon's on next week. And then we have a 2-part series with Christina Livingston, who's a mortgage lender. So we're going to have, she'll be speaking to us on June 20th and June 27th.
Well, Greg knows her, so she must be local, right?
Yes. And Michelle Moore actually tipped us off to her. And I'm in the process of scheduling things already in September. So.
And I just gave another guy.
Yes, I got it. I already wrote back to him.
Oh, good. Okay. He does bookkeeping, which, it's
bookkeeping for real estate investors.
Exciting as Sharon stuff, and bookkeeping is part of real estate investing. You don't do your books.
My account this morning, like, how do I claim this between doing sales and short-term capital gain, and what is
the IRS put a big crimp in your real estate investing really fast. So keep the records. We had an attorney up here, remember? And he talked about hey, you're using your checking account to go to the grocery store. Well, that's commingling, which means they can bust right through into your corporation and take all the stuff which you thought was safely in a corporation. Yeah. We just do things wrong, and this is the reason why we have green. All right, well, thanks again, Sharon. We'll bring up Jason now to finish this out for the night. Thanks again, Sharon. I can't wait to see you next Wednesday.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right, so I won't keep everyone too long. It's been really busy the last few weeks. Some of you guys come. I know I've been flying out. We've got consultants out in Phoenix that I'm dealing with. Buying quite a few properties, which is fun. So I'll just give you guys an update. So obviously what we've been doing here is these are, for now, free and open meetings to the public. We may get a little bit more exclusive. We're really trying to focus on property acquisition. And part of us kind of feel like there's productivity in a group conversation with people that are owning up to the table. And, just to put this into perspective for you guys, I mean, part of my meeting last week was with the same guy that does Robert Kiyosaki's branding. And so, I mean, he's just a next level savant when it comes to marketing and positioning. We hired basically the best consultants in network marketing. And we're still in fundamentally a pre-launch phase. So what we're doing here is still developing some of the clarity of message. And I know you guys come here and we do this as real estate, but this is a serious business opportunity and we mean to present it that way. So you guys really haven't seen me get up and start selling this shit like I will. Because Mark takes care of the fourth here and I go out and do some of the deals and we just try to network and make deals so we can build this business and get it going. Actually, it's just for you guys who are in really exciting stuff. And Greg, I know you're not in yet, but we're going to have a comp plan. It's going to be simpler and easier to explain, just so you guys know. And we're defining our membership categories and basically delivering something that is a part of any sales business, which is a clear message, and it's something that you guys can watch, rinse, and repeat. Because that's what you do in these businesses. So you introduce it to your friends and you say, look, I'm part of an investor club and we have an education platform. And, 70% of the millionaires in the world make their money in real estate. And guess what? Did anybody ever teach you about real estate? So if you really want to change your life, you need to go in and start taking an hour out of your week and maybe spending some time with people who are thinking about getting rich. I think that's a good idea. It's probably a good idea if you want to change something in your life for the better. Maybe that, I know it might be comfortable to sit at home and watch TV on a Wednesday night, but maybe if you actually take some time, put a little investment into it, put a little energy into it, and eventually, I will say this. Now, there are plenty of you guys that I think just like what we do and would be willing to pay $99 a month to be part of our online training, to be part of this group, to be part of the individual network. And that's fine also. But also the other side is for those who will pick it up and start running as a business, we're going to start kind of getting serious about that also. And that just doesn't happen on its own. And that's a process. That's inviting. That's you start writing down names, or quite frankly, in this business, you can do it with technology, with video conferencing platforms, internet. I mean, we have literally just in real estate agents, 2.5 million of the most focused, passionate network marketing people in the world. And what do real estate agents do? They go to network marketing groups to be a part of things like this. We're doing something that has never been done before, and that's bringing an affordable education platform. Similar, maybe not with all the hype that the gurus bring, but the same kind of stuff that somebody might go and pay $20,000 for. You could learn it in one day here with the right person out in the field. And we've had people that have seen some of what we've done, literally seen the deals come together. So that's our value proposition. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm always here. I'm going to be making more of a shift as this comes along. So I have been more engaged, and I still am going to keep the field work, buying the properties and stuff like that. I'm going to be more engaged with getting into delivering the knowledge. I know, Wade, you wanted to pick up and kind of like, going out in the field and just trying to transfer, that spark of energy to the next person. I always warn everybody, this does not happen overnight. There is nothing get rich quick about any of this, but there are life-changing deals that can happen if you're an opportunist and you're in that right place and you're keeping your eyes open and you've got the right vision, and that thing comes down the pipe. And guess what? You've got 4 or 5 people in a room like this that have all the money you ever need to partner on a deal that big when you need to do that deal. Or if they don't want to partner, they're one phone call away just because you kept your eyes open and you were watching and you learned how to see it. You learned how to have the vision and see the opportunity. So that's what we're all about. I'm not really, Mark is a little more, we do want to sell. I'm happy for anybody, if you want a place in the downline, to get you a place in the downline, that's fine. I know some of you guys are already in the downline, but we will be focusing probably on a more exclusive membership component. So when we come in here, we're going to be really trying to hammer out property acquisitions. Might be building a real estate investment trust. That's long-term stuff, but we're going to have serious conversations about buying real estate. So, anybody got any questions about green or the business opportunity, anything like that?
Greg, you've been hearing about us. Ask Steve. If you ask me, you'll get all confused. So ask Steve.
Well, so Steve, you guys are business partners with this, and so you're handling like the deals and you're handling this.
He's the loud one, I'm the logical.
Right now, we're both going to get out of the deals and go into this. This is way more lucrative than deals are. That's why you see Tom Ferry on the middle of the ring speaking, and he tells you to go buy his stuff, and everybody runs back, and you say, "Well, wait a minute, you're speaking. You're not buying. You're not doing real estate. You're talking. That's where the money is."
I get it, and I'm in Tom Ferry.
Yeah,
so I get it.
So yes, we're focused on the school right now. We got to do a little bit of both just to keep.
We're actually that's
the capital that gets us to go.
Yeah.
So and I'm not putting the cart in front of the horse. And this is all of you guys haven't seen this yet. We'll have 3 products. One will be an introductory level product that's $99 a month. We have a step up level product that's more agent and investor focused at $199. And we have something that we call trademark Mentor with Millionaires that will basically just be millionaire mentoring at $999, probably closer to what Tom Ferry's offering. That will have some coaching, some accountability, and seminars and so forth. But the difference here is it's earn while you learn. So it's introduce your friends to it, and get it done for free. And also we do partner with, like, the people in this room are actually partnering buying deals.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So that's it's a little bit more, I mean, if I had to liken it to a RIA group, and I never, RIA groups are great. I encourage everyone to go to everyone that they can, because you want to meet everyone that you can. But you also, in any situation, you're going to have certain people bring properties, certain people are new, certain people are buyers, certain people are sharks. You have your sharks in your tongue, guys trying to force feed people properties. Here, it's we like to think it's a little more mentor based, a little more like the guy sitting across you actually give a crap about a little bit. You don't just want to feed them a pile of bad property or something. But having said that, it's kind of like, I would say the idea would be to take that and put it on steroids and also create the larger connectivity nationwide or worldwide eventually. That takes time. But so a little more fun, a little more personal, and we have a core of people that keep coming back and show up. I know just by being here, it basically, I'm not going to say it pays for the whole business, but just the relationships here, the deals that come across my plate, pays a lot more than the office. Just having the group setting like this. But with any direct selling company, and I'll tell you guys, this is not bragging. The consultants that we're dealing with are the world's top consultants. They are Amway's consultants. And they basically looked at our business. They said, this should be a $100 million a year company, no problem. So the people that get in this early are going to make a lot of money. And there's a system, and they've launched 600 of these. And it's not that difficult, but it's kind of a wash, rinse, repeat. So that itself is not for everyone, but it can be something that, 500,000, 60,000 extra a month, take that money and invest it in real estate. My way of looking at it was, and Andrea had used this word before, and Andrea's in West Palm Beach, Florida. You guys can see him up there. He's our director of education. And he had used this democratization of real estate education. Our idea is, instead of trying to take that hype and oversell it and try to charge somebody $10,000, we want to charge somebody $100 and bring in 10,000 people. And the scalability and the internet platforms and this particular business model allow us to do that. So I'm getting, and I haven't had this really direct conversation with everyone before on purpose, because I haven't been trying to sell you guys really. And I want you to be here, but I'm not. This thing works in stages, and quite frankly, we don't have everything that I would have for everyone to go out and say, okay, here are all the tools you need to go out and tell all your friends. We're getting them, but I'm not fully empowering everyone to go out and blow up the network marketing business until we have it's little tools and gadgets. There's a process, it's a system. But the model is tried, true, and proven, and it's a literally wash, rinse, repeat. You do it, and there's a way that it's done. And, it's challenging, but we have a very unique product in the space. Some people have tried real estate, but they've never tried it the way we're doing.
Like Steve's saying, this is going to be a huge company, which means our base has to be not even the base sellers. I mean, the employees and contractors that work in and around Green. We have openings for many different slots of people who are willing to share, help, with the heart of giving, the heart of a teacher. But, slots to fill that we're basically, putting on 20 hats. And, I'm always looking for somebody that wants to take over, pick up one of my footballs and run with it. There's places that we're here for everybody. And we're trying to get the people close to us. I know I see you out there all the time. You're helping out there. You're trying to do your thing. We can help you, with a platform to do that. You help us with your skill and knowledge.
Deals. So I want to forward to deals. We got deals. Deals. Well, good deals. Yeah. I wanted to. We want Green too, but deals in the project.
I wanted to award Wade that he actually finished the marathon race. All of it.
All of
You should have had it. There you go.
Well, next time you run with one of our shirts on.
All right. You did it in 24 hours. I mean, that's good.
No. Actually, everybody's time was a little skewed because if y'all Google it, it was actually shooting at the marathon. So they stopped everybody about 45 minutes to an hour.
This past
Sunday was an active shooting.
Did anything happen?
Well, they took someone to jail. It was a lady. And somebody got shot. I think one officer accidentally shot himself.
I didn't even hear about that. I heard about the one in Boston a couple years ago.
Well, it was you can pull it up in your phone right now.
I believe it.
In San Diego, California. Yeah, they stopped everybody. Probably about 45 minutes.
It allowed you to catch up.
Well, it's not going to lose your momentum, though.
Yeah, I normally it takes me 1 hour. 6 miles takes me 1 hour. So I'm at maybe like 10 minutes a mile. Not the best. I know you got to be at 8 minutes a mile to run the Boston Marathon, but I'm at 10 minutes a mile. It normally takes me anywhere between 5.5 to about almost. Depends on if it got healed. Probably about 6 hours. So it took me.
My sister ran 350 when she was 46.
Wow.
Not bad.
Yeah. But mine, if you subtract the 45-minute delay, I did it under 6 hours, actually 5 hours and 49 minutes. So 11 minutes under.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. My sister was pleased. Then she overtrains. Like my dad does.
All right, Steve.
Steve, y'all mentioned something about accounting a minute ago. Let me tell you what happened to me. And the new law may have changed this, but I had about 75 properties, single family duplex condos, all kinds of stuff. Some of them I decided to keep. I wanted to keep for a while, rent them wholesale and some capital gain. IRS says no. You've been buying and flipping and selling. You are a dealer.
Doesn't matter if you hold it 2 years.
Well, they said
it's still
they wouldn't let me. The accountant would not let me use it with capital gains. It had to be as a dealer, ordinary income.
Doesn't matter if you're.
Now, if you put it in a
dealer,
dealer,
it doesn't. If you hold something 2 years, it is a capital gain. Doesn't matter if you're a dealer.
Okay. You do
Yeah,
five properties any 1 year, you're automatically a dealer.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's ordinary income on it.
But that doesn't make the property that you have sold that you've held over 2 years ordinary income.
Well, they said it did. So what I did is start putting everything in a different entity. Each property in a different entity.
Took it to an LLC?
Yeah.
No, trust.
You need a new account.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the law's law.
This is in Florida too, so it's.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not.
Well, feds are feds.
Well, that's another thing too. Yeah, the IRS is.
Yeah, I know. It's all over the place. But that was just what they said it was. They should have. It did.
The thing with being a dealer is that, I mean,
I just sold them over to another trust with a different trust capital.
yeah, the issue, you have basically licensure is one of the big things you have to do when you're a dealer. You have some accountability in things, but I don't know, Larry, you've seen, you know this arena, or have you ever held or heard of anyone getting popped for dealer status or anything from, I've never heard of it.
No.
Well, I mean, they just won't let you have, they just won't let you have capital gain on other stuff.
The only, Paul got hit by a nasty person. And the only thing they got him on was that he had originally purchased his property in an LLC. He was supposed to have agent representation to sell. In other words, he can't represent the LLC. So the real estate commission came and got him on 4 deals. But after he totally cleared his name.
That's why. Yeah, now I
it's
remember.
Like Al Capone. See Al Capone.
Well, that's why I bought all my, those 130 houses I had, I bought them all my own name. And I'm wondering why I never did it.
An S Corp's a pass-through entity, so you can represent yourself in that pass-through entity. Or
Single member LLC.
Single member, yeah. The LLC is different, though, when it comes to the agent representation.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember why I didn't buy a corporation. I was going to switch it over, but I didn't know.
I've never heard, and we talk about this. I mean, Greg, you do quite a bit of flipping.
Like houses?
Yeah.
Not really. I don't do any.
Straight run right to.
No. I mean, I'll do all
Be a wholesaler?
No. Definitely don't consider myself a wholesaler.
What do you do?
I do everything.
Okay.
Buy land, sell it, assign contracts, broker, everything.
So you never run into just what we're talking about, like any kind of wholesaling that anyone ever turned a funny eye towards.
I know the lines. I'm full disclosure. I don't try to mess around.
Yeah.
Well, the Fed doesn't care if you're right or wrong. They just they say what they say.
Yeah, I mean, everything I do since is all just income. Then I don't have.
Yeah.
Well, let's end the meeting so Doc and those guys can.
Hey, Andre, you're good. You're good. We're just chatting here now. So.